for this month's sharing. When Buddha was alive, everyone followed the Buddha's rule. Shortly before the Buddha entered Parinirvana, Ananda asked him a question concerning women. How shall we treat women, Venerable Sir? The Buddha replied, do not meet them. But what if one encounters us, Venerable Sir? The Buddha replied, do not address her. But what if one talks to us? The Buddha replied, focus on the precepts. When the Buddha was alive, everyone followed the Buddha's rules.
Okay, wait a second. We have a situation here. Just now, the sound is not corresponding. So we start from the first slide. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
let us go back to the first slide.
This is the first slide.
The main beginning.
All right.
Beginning.
Okay.
You can press back.
Have to start all again.
Okay.
Okay.
Why we can talk about women in Buddhism?
Okay. Right. Since the International Women's Day falls in the month of March, so I thought it is appropriate to share about women in Buddhism in today's live sharing. Shortly, the Buddha entered Parinirvana. Ananda asked him a question concerning women. How shall we treat women, Venerable Sir? The Buddha replied, do not meet them. But what if one encounters us, Venerable Sir? The Buddha replied, do not address her. But if one talks to us, the Buddha answered, focus on the precepts. When the Buddha was alive, everyone followed the Buddha's rules. The monks and nuns all lived in a communal living without any problem. Ananda asked this question so that the Buddha could clarify how the protocol should be for later people. The Buddha's answers offered them a practical solution to help newly inspired monks renounce their desire for women when the Buddha was no longer around. When they encounter women, they have to be on guard to prevent wrongdoings. As for the Buddhist nuns, the nuns have many more precepts to observe than the monks. Scholars have commented that this was due to the customs at that time. A woman must be seen to be pure and virtuous, more so a Buddhist nun. Practically, this would have made it easier for the nuns to receive food when they go on alms rounds. Someone has said that it is one thing to be reading about the precepts and can't help feeling that the precepts are too regimental, too strict. But actually, if you are living the precepts, that means if you are observing it, it is actually very liberating. It makes life simple. And I agree with that. For example, if you don't tell lies, then you don't have to make up stories to cover your lies. I'm sure everyone who observes precepts can relate. It is liberating to follow your precepts. It's not there to bind you, to imprison you. In our society, there's a saying that being reborn as a woman is caused by a lack of 500 years in spiritual practice. Women are said to be impure, have more desires, have more attachments, they are weak, and they are the source of all evil, and they are easily jealous and have more afflictions. It was written in Pali Canon that women are incapable of attaining Buddhahood. It is true that certain sutras devalue the spiritual capacities of women. Yet, it has also been recorded that the Buddha has high respect for women, and he recognized the women's potentials. In fact, during the Buddha's time, many female disciples of his did become arahats, and that is already enlightenment. They don't have defilements anymore, but that is not Buddhahood. So I'll take this opportunity to ask our Brother Beng Hai, could you share with us what is the difference between Arahant and Buddha?
Okay, thank you, Sister Seh Ping. So I will try to answer a question. actually full of ignorance or misconception. I would say that that women are incapable of becoming Buddha. So before we go further, actually we have to define what's Buddha. What do you mean by Buddha? Buddha is defined as the awakening or enlightened being, and it means that they don't have all the defilement. You know, there's no greed, hatred, delusion, pride, and ego. As long as all these 5 major defilements are get rid of, that means they achieve the purity. So Arahant normally refer to the 4 siko, in Mandarin is siko. So this siko is pure already, and they are get rid of all the defilement, and they are also called Buddha. And if we go for definition for the Buddha, there are 3 types of Buddhahood, I would say. The first one, just now we said that is the Arahant stage, where all the defilements are get rid of. And then the next one is they enter Nibbana. They enter Nibbana. Nibbana is a place where there is no birth, no death, and no what we call suffering. So it's purity. And then the second one, we call it the Pachaka Buddha, or the silent Buddha, where they practice on their own without a teacher. And they also, ultimately, they also enter Nibbana. They also don't have all the defilement, they have all the purity. And the third one, we call it the Supreme Buddha, or we call it the Sama Sambuddha, Sammya Sambuddhi. So these Buddha are the enlightenment. To achieve that one, they must complete the 10 perfections or 10 paramita. And the purpose is to come back and need to turn the wheel of Dharma. When they teach the Dharma again, the 4 noble truths and the 8-fold path, because after that, a lot of people have forgotten. So their purpose coming, and each Buddha will come, each Supreme Buddha will come to the world and reteach again all the life, the 4 noble truths and the 8-fold path. That's all.
I see. Thank you. Thank you for your explanation of the difference between Arahant and Buddhahood. So just now I mentioned that during the Buddha's time, many female disciples of his did attain arahatship. So it shows that women are very much capable of enlightenment.
Yeah.
So in fact, if you look at those unwholesome traits that was said about women, that women are impure, have more desires, more attachments, weak, the source of all evil, easily jealous, and having more afflictions. These are unwholesome personality traits. Men have these too, right? So these traits have nothing to do with gender.
Correct.
It was stated in the Avatamsaka Sutra that mind, body, Buddha, and sentient beings, there's no difference between the 3. So all sentient beings have an intrinsic Buddha nature and are capable of becoming a Buddha. So it is clear that what hinders us are our afflictions, not gender. Our mindsets and unwholesome personality traits are the real obstacles for spiritual growth. Women tend to have more afflictions somehow, and that is why it is said that women have more karmic obstacles and need to engage in spiritual practice for 500 more years. They need more time to get rid of their unwholesome habitual tendencies. Our Master Cheng Yen said, women should repent and form stronger aspirations for spiritual cultivation. Well, I certainly know that I have a lot of shortcomings, and I know that there's a lot to be repented for, and I should definitely form stronger aspirations for spiritual cultivation. In the Mahayana Mahaparinirvana Sutra, it was said that if a person does not uphold the Buddha nature, then even if he is a man, he will still be called a woman. If a person is aware of her Buddha nature, even if she has a woman's body, she will be called a man. What this passage meant to convey is, it is the inner quality that counts. So what is important is, We must eliminate our unwholesome habitual tendencies and reveal our compassion and wisdom, regardless of whether physically we are men or women. Next, I would like to share with you the story of the dragon girl. This is a famous story from chapter 12 of the Lotus Sutra. At the time the Buddha was expounding the Lotus Sutra at the Vulture Peak, Bodhisattva Manjusri arrived at the Vulture Peak assembly from the sea. Bodhisattva Manjusri told another Bodhisattva there that the Dragon King had a daughter who was only 8 years old. She studied and practiced the Lotus Sutra. She was exceptionally wise. Her merits are complete, and she was ready to become a Buddha very soon. The second Bodhisattva, whom Bodhisattva Manjusri spoke to, the second Bodhisattva didn't quite believe it. He argued that since it took Gautama Buddha a very long time to attain Buddhahood, he could not believe that this girl, in the space of an instant, could achieve Buddhahood. Just then, the dragon girl appeared at the scene and prostrated to the Buddha. And Sariputra, one of the Buddha's top disciples, also could not believe that this girl would become a Buddha. He said to her, "A female body is impure and could not be a vessel for heavenly king, let alone, a Buddha." The dragon girl then offered a precious gem to the Buddha, and the Buddha accepted it. She asked the two Bodhisattvas and Sariputra whether her offering was swift. They agreed that it was very swift. She then asked them to watch her become a Buddha in an even swifter manner. And lo and behold, the entire assembly watched her suddenly transform into a man and completed all the Bodhisattva's practices. And she instantly went to a world in the southern direction, took her seat on a jewel lotus flower, and attained Buddhahood there. There she expounded the Dhamma for many beings who rejoiced and paid their respects. Now, seeing all those things happening very quickly, one after another, everyone at the Vulture Peak assembly then had no doubt about the dragon girl. From this incident, we could see that despite the fact that the dragon girl was young, being a female and not a human, she was able to attain Buddhahood swiftly by following the teachings of Lotus Sutra. Perhaps Buddhahood can only arise from a male body, but it is possible to instantly evolve into a male, as we could see. And the dragon girl actually took on a male body to show that physical forms are only illusions, and we should not be attached to physical forms. The dragon girl was already free of hindrances, and she's ready to become a Buddha. Her presence at the Vulture Peak assembly was to teach everyone there that we should not attach to physical forms. All appearances are illusory. All phenomena are always subject to circumstances and are always changing. These are the principles of emptiness. Besides, male and female forms also change from life to life according to our karma. By appearing at the Vulture Peak, Dragon Girl showed that Buddha nature is equal in all. Master Cheng Yen said, Dragon Girl transformed without changing. And she was a male as a female. It means Dragon Girl only transformed her physical appearance, but her essence, her spiritual attainment remained the same. So that was the story about Dragon Girl during the Buddha's time. Staying at the same era, let us now hear Brother Beng Hai here share empowering stories about other women in ancient Buddhism.
Okay, thank you, Sister Seh Ping. Share screen. Okay. Once again, very good afternoon, brother and sister in the Dharma. Welcome to this live chat again. And before I start to tell the stories of this woman which contribute to Buddhism, how special are these superwomen, they call. And they are also the lay devotees and the disciples of the Buddha. And always the common sense, they always say that every successful man, there's a woman behind. But some of my friends say, no, not true. There are also, every unsuccessful man, there is all a woman behind. So I say, of course, we are talking about majority. Anything there's an exception, there's a minority. And the best I come to this sentence is that no man succeed without a woman. And whether it's a wife or a mother, if I have both, then it will be a double blessing. So I will share the story of the woman disciple or the female disciple of the Buddha. And I will start with the... Yeah. Okay, in Buddhism, it's very rational and modern, agnostic, liberal, and matters of gender and sexuality. It means in Buddhism, all 众生 or sentient beings is 平等, means it's equal. So do not let the world population of men and women take a guess. How many percent are women and how many percent are men? Take a guess. Anybody? Maybe you can text in the chat, and maybe you'll give me the answer later on, and I'll proceed. So actually, the woman and the men actually are equal. To be exact, all are equal. It's 49%, 49.4%, and 51.6%. So make 100%. So it's actually equal. So it means in the world, there also that there's a equality of men and women to dominate this world. And let me go further to discuss on this. These three lay disciples. It means they are ordinary people who are Buddhists, and they are the supporter or the benefiter of Buddhism. And these are the called the royal and wealthy patrons, such as Lady Visakha, Queen Malika, Queen Samavati, and the ladies. These are lay disciples, and then the woman disciple of Buddha contribute together to this preservation and the spread of Buddha teaching Dharma over the century. Of course, our modern day will be our Master Cheng Yen in Chiji. And in this cyber age, which man has advanced by leaps and bounds into the realm of matter, because we are talking about human being, and the definition of human being is that matter is the nama and rupa, matter and mind. So later on, you will delve on that. And on the screen, you can see these are the three lay deities which I pick up for the discussion. And I will start with these are the 13 eminent disciples of Buddha. 13 of them, they are Arahant. They are Arahant. And I will tell you a story later on why these are Arahant. Okay, Lady Visakha. Okay, Lady Visakha was an exemplary wife and mother, a very compassionate caretaker of animals. So she practiced compassion and love. And she was also a person of wisdom, kindness, generosity, and other attributes of inner beauty. Though she lived in a patriarchal society, Visakha maintained her own independent business, was known for her managerial and communication skill. See, this superwoman is very, very very perfect. It's equal as a man. Has all the virtue and all the capability. So among all the Visakha virtue, most worthy are the devotion and support for the Buddha, the Sangha, and the monastic community of monks, bhikkhus, and the nuns, bhikkhuni. And the Buddha remarked, Visakha stands for foremost among many women, lay supporter of the order. And she's, no doubt, I think she lived until a lifespan 120 years old. And she was mistaken to be a sister of the daughter. So the means how she looked, means she's very young, and she's very mighty and very powerful. With the hand, it can subdue an elephant. So imagine how powerful this woman. And all these are, of course, because of the contribution and all because of life existence, the life existence of the past, the accumulated merits, which she's there as a lady Visakha. And she's the number one in women to contribute to the Buddhism in terms of charity, generosity, benefiter, and all the things. And for the male is the Anatta Pintika, the male. So there are two of them very famous in the Buddhist Sutta, where they have a lot of contribution mentioned in the story. And I cannot finish all because there are limited time. I will move on to another person. Okay, this one is Queen Malika. So when this Queen Malika actually is like one of the queen, of course the king, the king or King Pasanadi got many wives. This is one of the wife, I think could be the principal wife, and she didn't have a child, son. She only had a daughter, and the king was not very pleased because she only had a daughter, and was not very pleased. And then after he met the Buddha, and what the Buddha told the king, So this is what the Buddha told the king. A woman was superior to a man if she was clever, virtuous, and well-behaved and faithful. Because why? After that, he can give birth to a son, and the son is very famous. And who is this son? King Asoka. King Asoka, if you go history of King Asoka, he ruled India for quite some time, 250 years. And all his kingdom under all his dynasty flourished. And the Buddhism also flourished with the famous one is the Asoka pillar. The pillar set up by Asoka with all written the Dharma, the teaching of the Buddha. Plus, he set up the hospital for the animal. So imagine how good the king Asoka when he known to Buddhism, and this is how he practiced Buddhism. And we have to reward Queen Malika for that. And at one time, the king Pasani had a 16th dream, and this 16th dream is to him is so vivid and so clear, and was so frightened that they consulted the Brahmin priest, and then the Brahmin priest want to make money. He said, "Oh, you must slaughter 1,000 cow, 1,000 goat, 1,000 duck, 1,000 chicken. So many lives we kill." So then the Queen Malika interjected to him, "Why don't you go and ask the Buddha, the wise man?" And then I thought he go and see the Buddha. And then Buddha told the king not to worry. This thing will happen from now, long time ago. It will not happen now. But by killing all the animal in sacrificial is not right. You cannot kill being to walk off whatever you are in the dream. So it's not right. And then the Buddha tell his dream, what are his dream, And then after that, he was very happy. And then after that, he stopped, all the animal being killed as a sacrificial of his being. So that means no being or animal have been destroyed or killed, and save a lot of animal life, thousands and thousands of them. This is the Queen Malika, very virtuous, compassion, and love, and loving kindness. Okay, we move on to the next one. So far, anybody following?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we go, the story, there are more to come. Okay, the next one is Mahapajapati Gautami. Do you know who is she? She is the first woman in the bhikkhuni, the first bhikkhuni of the Buddhist nun. And he also is the sister of the Stupa Buddha. That means it shows the foster mother of the Buddha ceremony. And why? That's because after that, when the Queen Maya, the mother of the Prince Siddhartha, passed away 7 days later, and then this Pajapati Gautami became the adopted mother. It means she breastfed the Buddha. The Prince Siddhartha when the mother was gone. So he raised this Prince Siddhartha, and together with the Nanda, another her actual son. So from there, this Majapati was actually at one time after that, when the Buddha, when the Prince Siddhartha became a Buddha, and this Majapati want to enter the order of the nun. And for how many times he pleaded with the Buddha? For 3 times he pleaded with the Buddha. Each time he went to see the Buddha said no. For 3 times. And then she had to travel from where, she had to shave her head, and then to wear the robe. And then she had to walk with other 500 followers from the distance about 400 miles. It means here from Penang, walk to Kuala Lumpur, barefooted, without wearing any shoes. Imagine the skin and rub against all the path in the hot sun, and they reached there, but still, was rejected by the Buddha. And then after that, the 3rd time when the Buddha rejected her, she met Ananda. Whether Ananda asked him, Sister Gautami, what happened? Oh, we come here, we shave our head, and then we wear the robe. When I enter the nun, but Buddha had rescued. So Ananda was very wise. So he went to see the Buddha. He said, asked the Buddha, whether a woman can be an Arahant. Arahant is the sound we already go through the Arahant. The person who has all the defilement have been washed away, or there's a normal defilement. It means the greed, hatred, delusion, ego, and pride, no more. So Buddha said yes. And then say, what? If yes, then why don't you admit them? Then after that, Buddha agreed. Of course, he gave this 8 conditions she has to follow. And immediately, she accepted the 8 conditions, and she became the first, the foremost nun as a bhikkhuni during the Buddha's time. And she is very virtuous and compassionate, and she practiced diligently, and everything she do is perfect. And even upon her death, she had died at the age of 120, and Buddha was at the funeral. All the virtuous people come and visit and pay respect to her. Even the Tian Shen, even the heavenly beings also come and pay respect to her. So this is the determination. She has a very strong determination, and even 3 times rejected by the Buddha, she didn't give up. She continued and continued. This is how the strong characters of this Majapati Gautami. So you see, the Buddha commented whether Majapati Gautami was foremost in seniority among the female Maha-Arahant of the noble order. So she is an Arahant. Okay, we get to the next story. This story is a very, very, very sad story, and we call it the Great Tragedy. Patachara was a very beautiful daughter and wealthy of her father in the Savatthi, merchant. And then because of her beauty, and there are many suitors, so to protect her from all these suitors, so she was kept in a tower. And last time they got this, I think 7-story. 7-story height is very high. So she was kept there and not supposed to come down. So we got a lot of servants. But unfortunately, this is affinity, we cannot. She fell in love, with one of the male servant. And this male servant, I think maybe quite handsome lah. That's why, love at first sight, I saw. And then before the father want to arrange marriage, during that time, if you are 16 years old already, the father will arrange marriage for the daughter, and they give a dowry, everything to the man. But she don't want, she only love this man. And what to do? She escaped, she eloped. She eloped with this male servant, and then went to very far end of the world. So that been captured by the father. So after that, 1 year later, Patara was pregnant with the first child. And during the India time, when the woman is pregnant, she will go back to the mother's side to have the baby. But the husband refused or reluctant because the husband fear that I go back, the father-in-law will come and kill me. So he was so scared. So he said, no, better stay, don't go. So because her husband persistent, she didn't go, she gave up. So she stayed back and gave birth to the son. On the second year, she had another pregnancy again. And this time she's very determined to go. The husband, don't go, after your father will kill me. Say, I don't care, I want to go, because I have not seen my father, my mother for so long, Then she insisted, but what to do? So the husband followed. So when they followed during the journey, there was in the middle of the night, and there was this thunderstorm, very strong wind and also rain. And then they need a shelter. Then she pestered the husband. Can you go and find something for me? Build a shelter so that I can maybe rest there while the rains are being subside later on. Then the husband agreed. So the husband went. 1 hour later, the wife, Patachara, didn't see her husband back, and she was in labor, and she gave birth. And then the next morning, she went and go and look for the husband. And to her surprise, she saw her husband was stiffened and her body stiffened. Actually, the husband was bitten by a snake, poisonous snake. I think could be a king cobra, and struck and died. And she was very, very sorry that she made the husband go, and then the husband was killed by the snake. But because of her strong determination, and the husband already died, and then she got one son, one newly born. So she's determined to go and see the parents. So she continued the journey. So when she continued the journey, halfway she crossed the river to this what called a village in Savati. And this river, they have to cross this river. This river they call the Avarati. The Avarati river was swollen because of the rainfall, swollen. And to cross this is not easy because the current is flowing very fast. And then she had thought the idea, okay, I will put the baby on some makeshift leaf, and can float. And the son, the 1 year plus son, to be leave behind the riverbank. Then he told the son not to move anymore, to stay there, while she took the baby across the river. So when she crossed over the river, suddenly there's an eagle flying above the sky. And this eagle looked, wow, this baby is look like red meat, So the eagle came down and swooped the baby. And then this Patara was shouting, leave my baby, leave my baby. Then after that, this eagle already flying, I don't know how far away. And while the mother was shouting and shrieking, the baby boy thought the mother was calling him. So he walked, then he fell into the river. And the river was swollen, and the gushing of the river, torrential rain, swept the child away. And actually the child was drunk. And then the baby was taken by the eagle. So imagine, she had already lost. Now they got 3 lives. The 2 children and the husband. Then she was very, very sad, but her determination to continue the journey, he had to go back because no point for him to go back to the village because there's nobody already. So now it's for him to go forward, yeah, to reach the parents' house. So after he crossed the river, then he reached the town, the Sawati town, and he started to inquire. The last night, this thunderstorm, and I want to look for my parents, the house, because 2 years they cannot, he cannot recognize all this. Then they were asking, by this so and so, this name, have you seen? Then the passerby told him, actually, it's a very sad story. Last night, there was the torrential rain and the thunderstorm, the lightning struck the house, and the house burned down, and with 3 lives gone. Wow, when you heard that, what are the 3 lives? The father, the mother, and the brother. 3. And at that time, when she heard this story, was blank, totally blank, cannot comprehend. Now 6 lives in the night. Imagine how will you take it? 6 lives. Wow, she already went. I thought her mind went blank, and she went mad. Mad already, and they tore away the clothes, throw away everything, and started to run and shout. And then why all this happened? So fortunately, because I think of affinity Buddha, because Buddha was at that temple, was giving the sutta, expounding the sutta, and then she wanted to enter the temple. Of course, there are beings guide the temple, the guardian being want to stop her, and Buddha said no, let her in. Buddha was full of compassion, and Buddha knew that this Patachara was very it's the right time already. Yeah. Then after that, okay, before I go that, after that, she was heard this voice from the Buddha. Patachara, regain your mindfulness, sister. So when he heard the voice of the Buddha, she stood still, So it was like a bucket of cold water thrown to her, and she wake up to her senses. And then after that, she realized that she is not wearing anything. Then there's a virtuous person who throw the cloth to her, and she covered up, and she kneel down to Lord Buddha. And then she told her story. And then Buddha said that, actually, Patachara, life is uncertain, death is certain. All conditioned things are impermanent. The nature is to arise and pass away. So you have to accept this. And this is not the first time that you have lost your son, daughter, your mother, your father, your brother. You have been many lifetimes, millions of lifetimes that you have lost. And then Buddha continued. Then the tears you have shed, is more than the water in the 4 ocean. Wow, then she understand that life, actually samsara is very, very full of suffering. We don't know how many lives were in existence, millions and millions, we also don't know. That's why the Buddha came to the world and they want to find out the truth and to save being suffering in the samsara. That's why he discovered this truth and expound this truth to all beings which need to be rescued to escape this suffering. So imagine the tears, you cry that your tears, those people who die. All these tears are also more than the water in the 4 oceans. As I always mention that if you cross the Penang Bridge, you see the water between the Batu and the Penang. It's so much already. Imagine the 4 oceans. So imagine how much water, how much tears we have been crying. Our lost one, our painfulness, our suffering. So that's why we also have to wake up. And this is the story of Bata. Finally, she after that she regained her consciousness. She became a bhikkhuni. Then she was very, very diligent. She practiced very good. And then after that, she became an arahant. And this is how Buddha rescued them, and this is the story. And now move on to the last one, the Kisa Gotami. Kisa Gotami actually is a daughter of a poor man, but he married a rich man. And he was looked down on by the in-laws because he's poor. But luckily she got a son, and the son had bring her some status. But unfortunately, the son succumbed to a fatal sickness and died. So when died, she cannot accept. She cannot accept death. Why is this happened to me with the baby? So she asked people around, who can help me to make the baby live again? Then they said, maybe you can try Buddha. So she went to the Buddha. And Buddha knew that she would not accept anything. So Buddha would give her something. Okay, you go on condition, on one condition. You go and collect the master seed from every household. Not every household, but must make sure that no death in the household. Only I can use. So she went to every household and knocked on the door. Knock. Everybody said, because somebody died. My father died, my mother died, my sister died, my husband died, my uncle died. So every household, somebody died. So now from there, she was like awakened. Actually, life is, it's very common. Death is very common among beings. There's birth, there must be a death. So she accepted. So she accepted. You see how Buddha is so wise and let her try this method. Compared to Patachara, it's a different method. So the Buddha is so wise that he's able to know what medicine you take, what method to cure you. So that's why in the Buddha say in the dispense of the Dhamma, the impermanence of all things or its impermanence result in suffering. If things are impermanent, it cause suffering. Because 无常，无常是先到上人讲，明天先到是无常先到。So this one very difficult to say. So this is the story of this Kisa Gotami. And this is, I think, the end of my story on these 5 people. And my conclusion that this male and female disciple who constitute the Sangha and the female, the lay disciple will comprise laity. Buddhism comprises both the doctrine, practice, and the fruits of such practice. The one lay disciple, there are 18 Arahant, 13 is the women Arahant, and their effort won emancipation of rare distinction that belong to the inmost circle of Sakya Muniform. Sadhu. Thank you. So up to Sister Seh Ping, continue your story.
Sadhu. Thank you, Brother Beng Hai, for such interesting, such educational stories about the Buddha's ancient female disciples. Patachara's story was very tragic. Every time I hear it, it continues to shake me. The depth of her sorrow is unimaginable. She lost her mind, but after hearing the Buddha's teaching, she regained her mind back. This is how empowering the Buddha's teaching can be. And one person I admire is Maha Pajapati. I find that she is very selfless. Usually, throughout history, we know that we have heard that queens and concubines, they usually fight against each other. They plot against each other. They even plot to murder each other's babies.
To raise the status.
To raise their status so that their own son can be the next king. Yeah, this happened a lot throughout the royal family in history.
Chinese dynasty.
So, but then Pajapati, She gave her own milk to baby Siddhartha, the baby Buddha, and she gave her own son to a wet nurse to feed. She fed her own milk to baby Siddhartha. I find that very selfless, and she was very broad-minded. She gave priority to her sister's son, not her own son. Coming back to let's travel back to the present day and look at an example of a woman who is like a great man, just like what is stated in the Mahaparinibbana Sutra. And she is none other than our Master Cheng Yen. Oh, let me share screen again. I will recommend you to read this book, Challenges, if you have not done so. This book is very inspiring. It tells us about our master's extraordinary vision, her perseverance in the face of obstacles, and her great wisdom in handling matters. When Master Cheng Yen was young, before she became a nun, she used to visit a temple every day. One day, she asked the nun there, "What kind of woman is the most blessed?" The reply was, "She who can carry a grocery basket is the most blessed." At first, Master Cheng Yen was confused. She couldn't understand why a woman who can carry a grocery basket is the most blessed. But soon, Master Cheng Yen, she is not a nun at that time. Soon she understood that it meant that when a woman has power in her family, she is in charge of the family finance and she can spend money as she pleases. And this is thought to be the most blessed woman. But Master Cheng Yen disagreed with this view. In her mind, taking care of the family is not sufficient. She maintains that women should take up responsibilities for the sake of the world, just like great men do. And our master formed an aspiration. She wanted to carry the world's grocery basket. And that was one little seed of aspiration that set the direction of her life. As we know, Master Cheng Yen later on established Tzu Chi at the age of 29. By establishing Tzu Chi and guides us to this day without wavering, our master carries through a moment of enthusiasm into a long-term action. She guides us on how to put Buddhism principles into action so that as we practice along the path, we get to nurture our wisdom and at the same time gain wisdom. We get to nurture our compassion and at the same time gain wisdom through reducing our greed, anger, and delusion. Master Cheng Yen teaches Buddhism not just by expounding the sutras, but also through Tzu Chi rules. For example, we wear uniform to show equality, that there's no difference between the rich and the poor. And our uniform is called the robe of gentle forbearance, to remind us to be tolerant. And tolerance, forbearance is one of the 6 paramitas. Now, at the age of 83, turning 84, our master still attends one meeting after another throughout the day and addresses the attendees. Even though she feels weak sometimes, she still uses all her strength to speak because she does not want to waste a single opportunity to address her disciples. Our master is the perfect example of how a woman can be like a great man, as described in the Mahaparinibbana Sutra. In the eyes of scholars, Tzu Chi is a social welfare movement. They use the word movement because Tzu Chi actively promotes its values. Tzu Chi movement advocates the belief that worldly salvation is obtainable through altruistic acts. This was written by Yu Shangyao in the book Taiwan's Tzu Chi as Engaged Buddhism. And Master Cheng Yen has also been described as a leader in Buddhist peace activism. Julia Huang wrote this in Charisma and Compassion, Cheng Yen and Buddhist Tzu Chi movement. The books were written some time ago. We can now call our master an activist for vegetarianism as well. As Tzu Chi has spread to 120 countries in the world, even people from non-Buddhist countries have come to know more about Buddhism, Buddhist values. More people know that Buddhism is not only about chanting and meditating. Many non-Buddhist Tzu Chi volunteers are even practicing Buddhism principles in their daily lives without changing their own religion. In fact, they comment that our master's teachings make them become a better person in their own religion. What is our master's contribution to Buddhism? She guides us to incorporate Buddhism principles in our daily living and serve as living bodhisattvas. 佛法人间化，佛法生活化，菩萨人间化。Master Cheng Yen wants us to join Tzu Chi because we believe in her ideals. She also teaches us not to be superstitious. Next, I'd like to share with you an excerpt from the book Challenges. This is from chapter 20, Interpreting Unexpected Events. The challenge was, what is the nature of miracles, omens, and supernatural powers? In March 1986, renovations at the abode of Still Thoughts were almost complete. Tzu Chi volunteers from around the world came to visit their spiritual home. One drizzly day, as everyone got off the bus and walked towards the main sanctuary, the rain suddenly stopped. Looking up at the sky, some volunteers noticed two clouds moving towards each other and forming the shape of a lotus flower right above the abode. When the sun shone from behind the clouds, it looked as though the divine light was radiating from the lotus flower. Many people shouted with joy when they witnessed this miracle, and some snapped pictures of it. Was this shining lotus flower in the sky a miracle? Some said that with the renovations almost finished, a lotus flower in the sky had to be a good omen. Some said that if they published their photos, more people would join Tzu Chi. Master said calmly, what you saw was only a coincidence. So there is no need to have the photos developed, nor should you spread reprints to other people. I hope people join Tzu Chi because of my convictions, not because of my supernatural power. And so no miracle photos have been published by Tzu Chi. We often see the master display her supernatural powers of extraordinary concentration and willpower. Everything she thinks about, everything she does is for this world. Each Tzu Chi miracle is created every day under her guidance, but she attributes each one of them to the hard work of every Tzu Chi member. She teaches us that we should nurture our wisdom and correct beliefs and not become superstitious. And this is how well-grounded and how wise Master Cheng Yen is. In Tzu Chi, the majority volunteers are female. They do hard labor works. They travel across the border to provide disaster relief in harsh weather conditions.
Superwoman.
Brother Beng Hai said superwoman. There is a saying in Tzu Chi that we use women as if they are men. 女人当男人用. So who says women are weak? The female volunteers also recruited many kind-hearted people to join their ranks. Actually, whether male or female, we all work towards the same goal on the Bodhisattva path, which is to practice and cultivate towards Buddhahood and inspire people along the way. Last but not least, I would like to share a quote by the Tibetan nun called Tenzin Palmo. She states, I have made a vow to attain enlightenment in the female form, no matter how many lifetimes it takes. I have come to an end of my sharing. I hope you have found this sharing interesting And here's wishing you abundance of blessings and wisdom. Thank you for watching.
I think we still have time. So actually, hope the story I was telling earlier will also benefit all. Now, some of the story are very JingSi, and especially the Patachara, the great tragedy. Is something will happen to us. Maybe it's just a minor as compared to her. It's take death in the night. So for anybody, I don't know how to take that type of the limit to that stage. So, but she was strong enough. Because with the Buddha's enlightenment, to subdue her and to wake her up and to ask her to to understand, to regain mindfulness. So that Tuo Yung Sing is a very sound and say Tuo Yung Sing. So this the word remind her, and then she gained her consciousness. And I don't know whether there are questions in the chat, whether we need to answer anybody there. If not, then I also want to wish all the women related happy Women's Day. San Ling Pa or 308 or Sampa, they always say Sampa. So Sampa is Sampe. So hope that all the women will enjoy the story, and this story also mark the characteristic of all the strong women, all the good virtue, as what the earlier Queen Malika, where the Buddha told her that if a female can give birth virtuous and faithful, and compassion, she can give rise to give birth to a son, which is worthy of the mankind. So it's like King Asuka. So this is how the Buddha sees that actually all beings, good man or woman, is painted, is equal. There is no inequality in this world. Everybody is a being, is a sabta, means all beings are made of mind and matter, which also in Buddhism, the two truths, what we call the conventional truth and the ultimate truth. So ultimate truth is all being the same because we are made up of 5 aggregates, the 5 khandhas, wing. So this is how we see human beings, all are the same. And if the conventional is you and I, that makes us different. But we use the conventional world to understand the ultimate reality. So hopefully you all learn from this sharing, and we look forward to see you again. And those who miss this, maybe have to seek the YouTube live stream, and hopefully you will enjoy talk together.
Cảm ơn brother. Brother Beng Hai's affirming sharing is very empowering.
So she invited me in.
Yes, that is the reason I invited a male person to be my guest presenter, and his sharing is excellent.
So before our live streams ends, this is a right question for our support here. If there's like all the audience from the world are watching you, like maybe women also, or their daughter or mother, what or any father will also, son or father that are watching the stream now, what a single sentence will do? What sentence will you be giving them?
Yeah, I say from the woman is compassion and love.
Okay, thank you.
So compassion and love, I think everything will survive.
And what sentence will you give for the audience for the live stream today?
Yes.
Just one sentence will do.
Be mindful, and we can do it.
Oh, okay.
Repent. If we have shortcomings, we have to repent, and we have to form stronger aspirations.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for watching today. We'll see you guys next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.